we started the campaign recently to give away some of these, new bookmarks, and also the other flyers that we have that you could also use as postcards that have the QR code on it. Anyone that just has a smartphone, goes and gets one of these QR codes, and you immediately see the two major films that we have. One being the Tikkun HaBRIT movie, and the other one being the Hashem Took Back His Millions. Very attractive flyer, and also the site that opens up after it. And Baruch Hashem, people are using it, especially the younger people that are familiar with how to use this type of technology. We also have some other flyers, other things that to spread the word out there. In so many words, the goal is to wake people up. And I know that the Yetzer Hara is working very, very hard. So anytime it comes to CDs, USBs, mass distribution, one of the policies of our organization has been to try to sell as much as we can, because after all, it all costs a lot of money. But generally speaking, we end up giving out, more than 90% of all the CDs that we've ever given distributed, which at this point is probably close to about 1 million CDs that we've given out, and flyers and so on. Over 90% of it is free. We give it out to different people to distribute it in their communities. And the reason why is because just anytime we say, listen, we have this new flyer or the new CD or the new USB or something for people to invest in and give it in their community, only a few people have the merit to say, you know what, I'm going to invest in this and I'm going to distribute it and so on. Some people say, listen, I'll invest in it and I'll give it out. Some people say, listen, I'll invest in it but have somebody else give it out. And some people say, listen, I don't want to invest in it, but I'm willing to give it out. So Kadosh Baruch Hu does the shiduchim, and we give it a lot of the stuff for free. But every so often, it happens that Kadosh Baruch Hu also teaches us a little bit of musar about Am Yisrael from all the free stuff that we give. If it's the free flyers and CDs that we give out, or it's the books, or it's the food, or so on. Every so often, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us a nice lesson to remind us of what He's been dealing with for the last 3,000 plus years. Where you see in this week's parasha, in the beginning of the parasha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Parashat Ba'alotecha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu teaches us about His own humility, where despite the fact that He is the one that showed Moshe Rabbeinu how to, the actual menorah, but at the same token, He also built the menorah, and yet He wrote it in the Torah as if Moshe Rabbeinu built it. So it shows that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says little and does a lot, the way of the tzaddik, and shows us His humility. He's not looking for credit for every little thing that He does. On the other hand, later on in the parasha, we see that, in chapter 11 of the parasha, we see that Am Yisrael mitonenim. Am Yisrael starts complaining to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What are they really complaining about? They're complaining about the best food that ever existed in this world. They're complaining about the manna. And instead of having the manna, they want meat. Now, some people may not know that this is perhaps one of the most ridiculous complaints in the history of mankind. Why? First of all, you have a food that's coming directly from heaven, directly to your house. The more righteous you are, the closer it lands to your house. It's fresh every single day. The Gemara says that it came in 3 different ways based on the righteousness of the person. If the person was completely righteous, then the food came ready to eat in a form of a cake, delicious, and you can choose the flavor that you wanted. Less righteous, you had to do something to it in order to cook it. Wicked, you had to cook the whole thing, but still, nonetheless, it's still food from heaven, and still you can make it taste however way you want. Meaning that if you wanted it to taste like meat, you wanted it to taste like chicken, you wanted it to taste like ice cream, you wanted it to taste like whatever you want, simply think about it, and that's the way it's going to be. And instead of being grateful to Hashem that we don't have to go slaughter any cows, we don't have to deal with any issues of kashrut, we don't have to deal with the issues with the knives, with the rabbis, with the prices, too expensive, too cheap. Which kashrut do you want? Which kashrut do you accept? All of these different things. Instead of doing all of that, instead of going and breaking our heads and feeding the animals in order to make sure that they eat the right food so we can eat them and check the lungs and so on and so forth, Kadosh Baruch Hu said simple, I'll give you food directly from heaven and you can make it taste the way you want. Instead of being happy with that, what do we say to Moshe Rabbeinu, which in essence is to Hashem? Who's going to feed us? We don't have any food. We want more food. How come you're only feeding us this terrible food, this cursed food? The most ridiculous complaint in the history of mankind we have in this week's parasha. Instead of saying thank you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for all we have, we complain because we say, no, we want something else. And that something else that we want is inferior to what we're actually already getting. But in our mind, as Shlomo HaMelech says, Maim gnuvim imtaku, stolen water are sweeter. In so many words, whatever is out of our reach, that's what we want. Whatever is forbidden to us, that's what we want. That whatever our neighbor has, that's what we want. In the secular world, they call the grass is greener on the other side. But here, we're not doing it with our neighbor. Here, we're not doing it with our colleague. Here, we're doing it with Hashem himself. We're complaining about the gifts that he gave us, and what we come up with our own idea of what's better, which in reality it's inferior, because even if you want meat, you could just make the manna taste like meat. In fact, you could in one bite make it taste like meat, and the next bite you can make it taste like ice cream if you want. And the same thing, by the way, with the water. The water that was in the merit of Miriam, in the river that followed Am Yisrael for 40 years, that river, you could taste, that water can taste however you want. You want it to taste like water, best water in the world. You want it to taste like wine, it's going to taste like wine. You want it to taste like orange juice you got in the middle of the desert. You want it to taste like a Coca-Cola, you got Coca-Cola without worrying about any patent issues. Anything you want. Instead of saying thank you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ishtabach Shemo La'ad, what do? We not only complain, but we give Hashem our own better idea. Now, where does this ungratefulness come from? Where does this ungratefulness come from, Rabotai Yekarim? Where does this ungratefulness come from? How come we tend to be ungrateful? What does this have to do with giving out the flyers and so on? Every so often, people send and they ask me to send me a package of some flyers. I'll give it out, whatever, or send me a package of whatever you have, and you give them, for free. You don't ask them for money, even though you know that if they have a smartphone, they usually could afford a few $100. But nonetheless, you give. You're not gonna, if you're gonna do this only for the sake of money, you're not gonna really help people. So whatever, you give. And most of the time, when people do order things and pay for it, we tend to give them a lot of extras to invest into their Kiruv. They already have such great merit where they're willing to not only do Kiruv, but to invest into Kiruv. We want to invest with them, and they order one, we usually give them more than one, sometimes much more. And now, many people are grateful, but once in a while you have this reminder from HaKadosh Baruch Hu where someone that you just did him a favor, what do they do? Oh, no, I thought it's going to be something else. Oh, you send me too much. Oh, you don't have the other version. Oh, this, oh, that. And they complain to you. Instead of saying thank you, you just gave me $500 worth of stuff for free. Instead of saying thank you, you just gave me a $2,000 worth of stuff for free. Instead of saying thank you, I now have an opportunity to save myself from eternal Gehenom because of a free gift. What do? They complain. And this is not once or twice, and I'm not pinpointing or targeting anyone that did it recently. This has happened countless times throughout the years. It also happens with other things, not just with this. It happens sometimes you give somebody help. Usually this happens usually more in America than in Israel, where we've helped a few people financially, and instead of the person saying, "Oh, thank you," or simply being quiet, that's it. Oh, that's all you can help me with. You can't do more. And you're thinking to yourself, Ribono Shel Olam, what is going on here? What is going on here? A story like this came to one of the Chachamim. And the rabbi asked one of the Chachamim, he said, I don't know, Rabbi, listen, this guy, every time he comes to me for help, I help him. But every time I help him, he always says, that's it. That's all you can do. Can't do more. Where does this chutzpah come from? Chacham tells him, it's very simple. Chutzpah comes from the fact that he is one of the chosen people. That means that his father is the King of Kings. He's not used to being a servant. He's used to being one of the princes, one of the sons of the King of Kings. So the fact that you're giving him anything else less than what he thinks he's entitled to because he's one of the chosen people, he feels perfectly right. Of course, this is not the right way to behave, but nonetheless, this is what happens when people have less Torah and therefore less, manners. But even the Dora De'ah, even the generation of knowledge that we see in the Torah in this week's parasha, they had more Torah than anybody else in history. They are called the generation of knowledge, not just a knowledge of Torah, but knowledge of Hashem. Hashem opened up the heavens at Mount Sinai, opened up the seven heavens, and showed them what the pasuk En od milvado means, that there's nothing else but Him. He literally opened up the heavens and He showed them there's nobody else here but me. Showed them all the different things, the different angels, the different things that we cannot even imagine. The chayot, these special, enormous angels and different things that He has, an infinite amount of servants and so on. And eventually He opened up the seventh heaven, the last heaven, and showed them, here, this is the Kisei HaKavod, this is the throne of glory. There's nobody else here but me. So here you have knowledge of Hashem. They heard and saw God's voice. They saw God's voice. When Hashem spoke, they saw the words in the heavens. So you have a generation of knowledge of Torah, prophecy. Everyone was a prophet. Everyone had knowledge, but yet they still complained like little babies, like we do today, 3,300 years later, meaning that it's not just Torah in essence, that if you know Torah, therefore you're by default going to have good manners, because there's plenty of people that know Torah but have terrible manners. Where does that come from? Where does that horrible trait of ungratefulness come from? And a trait that unfortunately way too many people have. This trait of ungratefulness and in essence entitlement, which is very common, I would say, in this generation. Where does it come from? Where does it come from, this horrific trait? Well, the truth is, Rabotai, is that when a person looks into the Torah, they'll see this particular trait happen time and time again. In Sefer Bereshit, beginning of the Torah, you see the whole story of Adam v'Chava, Adam and Eve, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave them everything. And comes the serpent, Imach Shimo v'Zichro, the Rasha, the serpent, and entices the woman, entices Chava, by saying to her, you can be like God. If you eat from the tree of knowledge, you can be like God, meaning you can have more. It's not enough what you have. You have everything, but there's more than everything. You can be like God. All you have to do, eat from the tree of knowledge. And when she showed a little bit of resistance by saying, no, but God said, don't eat and don't touch. God didn't say don't eat and don't touch. He said just don't eat. She added her own little chidush that was inappropriate and not part of the Torah, and that's how she fell. Now the Gemara in the Yerushalmi, in Masechet Shabbat, in chapter 6, Halacha number 1, says that women tend to want to show off. They're schwitzerit, show-offs, arrogance. They have a tendency of arrogance where they want to show off. They want to show off their new jewelry. They want to show off their new bag, their new shoes, their new house, their new husband, their new this, their new that. Women like to show off. That's just a tendency of women. It's not a good thing, but nonetheless, it's part of the nature of a woman, and obviously one of the things that a woman needs to work on. This doesn't mean that guys are exactly so humble, which we'll get to in a second, how far we are from humility. But women tend to have this trait much more than men, and we even see in the Gemara where you see some of the wives of the tzaddikim, the Tanaim, the Amoraim, the greatest people that ever lived in history. Sometimes they had their own wives had this tendency which caused problems. Whether it was Korach's wife who ended up bringing him and her and the kid and everybody that followed them, with the exception of their kids, which did Teshuva in the last second, brought all of them to Gehenom. For what? Show off. She wants to show off. She wants her husband to be the president. On the other hand, at the same time, we see On Ben Pelet. On Ben Pelet has a tzadikah wife that was not a show-off. The exact opposite. She was a woman that builds, a woman that protected her husband, who himself wanted to show off initially, but she protected him. So we see is a teaching that says, Isha bona, Isha oreset. A woman builds, a woman destroys. If the woman knows that, yes, I have this inclination where I want to show off. I have this inclination where I want to be arrogant. I have this inclination where I want to, show that I'm the best. But I know it's not good. It comes from the Satan. I need to only do things for the sake of heaven. So she works on it. She could be like On Ben Pelet's wife and be considered in Shemaim like a woman that build her husband to be a tzaddik, to be a Talmid Chacham, to be someone that has Yirat Shemaim and so on. But if she doesn't want to do that, and she says, no, listen, my husband, he can worry about himself, I'll worry about myself. If he wants to be a tzaddik, learn Torah, that's good for him, but that doesn't mean that I need to be just like him. So she wants to buy a wig that's longer than the exile. She wants to have makeup that makes you blinded as soon as you see it because of all the different colors. She wants to have shoes from every single manufacturer known to man. She wants to have clothes that you can pretty much, mortgage the house against. She wants to be a show-off. She wants everyone to look at her. In Israel, they call it shefuni anas. Shefuni anas is in Arabic, but it's an expression in Hebrew. We say shefuni anas, meaning look at me. She wants to be look at me. A woman like that, for sure, she's not going to have a good marriage. For sure, she's not going to have a good life. Why? It'll never be enough. It'll never be enough. It'll never be enough. But unfortunately, there's a tendency of women. Of course, also a tendency of men, as we saw with Korach. But nonetheless, Chava that was tzadikah. Was not a rashayit. Chava was tzadikah. So a beautiful woman was tzadikah, but falling for the trap one time in her life. We're not talking about she sinned the whole life. One time in her life, alvay alenu. I wish on us we only sinned one time in our life. One time in our life, I wish we sinned one time one day. One time in her life, she fell for the trap. Show off a little bit. Why? I can be the best. I have a lot. I got this. I got that. I got the house. I got the money. I got the husband. I got this. Yeah, but I can do a little bit more. What? I need to look the best too. Yeah, but look the best for your husband. Yeah, I can look the best for my husband, but maybe I can look the best for other people too. And that's what happens. Sometimes a woman is a good woman, but she spends a little bit of extra, more time spending to look better for Carlos and Steve in the streets than she does for her husband. So she looks like $1 billion when she goes outside. When she's at home, sometimes she looks like Tisha B'Av. Sometimes she looks like there's a tragedy. Sometimes she looks like there's an earthquake. Sometimes she looks like normal, but never the same as when she goes out. Never. Why? She doesn't really care about the important things. She cares about shefuni anas. She cares about, look at me, I'm the best looking, I'm the best this, I'm the best that. This tends to be very common in women that like attention. They like to make videos of themselves. They like attention if they're a successful lawyer or doctor or some type of judge or things like that. And they like to get media attention, do all types of interviews and things of that nature. These are not the ways of Bnot Israel. Bnot Israel are much more modest. Bnot Israel are much more reserved. Women that like to bring attention to themselves, make videos of themselves, pictures of themselves, and so on, tend to have horrendous lives. Why? Because even if they get the attention that they desire, it'll never be enough. It'll never be enough. HaKadosh Baruch Hu already told you, I made you beautiful. I made you my special daughter. I gave you a husband. I gave you kids. I gave you that, but you want even more. You want the attention of strangers. You want the fame of celebrities. You want this, you want that, and this is how, Hashem Yishmo, people fall day and night and end up, destroying their lives, where the only thing that's orthodox about them is what it says on their website, but everything else is completely reformed. You have many women like this, where they call themselves orthodox, but a dog is closer to orthodoxy than they are. Why? Because they don't act like orthodox people. If you're looking like a celebrity in the streets, if you're constantly bringing attention to yourself, this is not an orthodox way of doing things. Orthodox is coming from, it's in essence the equivalent of being Haredi. What's Haredi? Haredi is to be, Chared Hashem. That's someone that's zealous and glued to the mitzvot of Hashem. One of the most important mitzvot for a woman is to be modest, is to be reserved, not to go out there and have the whole world look at you like a traffic light. No one says that you need to look like a grandmother that just came out of a cave for the first time, but to bring attention to yourself, to attract attention to yourself on a regular basis on purpose, definitely not the way of Bnot Israel. And as you see from the series that we're learning from the Igeret Agra, last night we learned one of the first advices that he tells his wife: get used to dwelling alone. Why? Being the center of attention in the public is not going to do you any good, not in this world and not in the next world. And you see it many times that these types of women that bring a lot of attention to themselves, all they have is tragedy in their life. All they have. They may get a little bit of attention, they may get a few compliments, they may get a few winks, and so on and so forth, but they also get a get, and they also get a lot of lashon hara, and they also get a lot of problems. And this is also one of the rebukes on the women that are very into wigs and things of that nature, that care less about what the Chachamim are saying about immodesty. You have over 120 major poskim throughout history, from the time of Yonatan ben Uziel, Rabbi Akiva, Gaon Mivilna, Chatam Sofer, all of the greatest sages that ever lived, forbid wigs when they look like broomsticks. But yet, women wear them today saying, no, but my Rebbe said it's okay. Your Rebbe is bigger than the Gaon Mivilna. Your Rebbe is bigger than the Chatam Sofer, who on his tzava'ah, his last wishes to his daughters that he wrote his last wishes to his daughters, saying to them, I forbid you to wear wigs. When did he forbid them to wear wigs? What, when they were 3 feet long, 4 feet long, like they are today, with all of these different technology that makes it look like it's coming outside of your skull? It literally, the wigs of today looks more real than your real hair. You put a woman wears it doesn't wear a wig, it looks like a wig. A woman that actually wears a wig doesn't look like a wig. He was talking to his daughters about wigs, which Bezat Hashem, we're going to put a picture on this tomorrow when it's on YouTube and the app. You'll see the wigs that he was saying they're forbidden. Literally, you wouldn't use them today to broom your house, to clean your house, to mop your house. You wouldn't use them. That's what he forbid his daughters and his wife from ever wearing. Chatam Sofer, one of the greatest Ashkenazi poskim in the history of man. One of the greatest Ashkenazi poskim. And you're saying your local rabbi from Brooklyn, your local rabbi from wherever he is telling you that it's okay for you to wear this wig that looks more real than your real hair. That's what you're going to rely on. And not only that, you're wearing a wig that even the rabbi that allowed it, the great rabbis that allowed it, they didn't allow today's wigs. They didn't allow these 3 feet long wigs, longer than the exile, longer than our problems, longer than the tragedies. Nobody allowed those. But then when the Chachamim come out, they say it's forbidden to wear those wigs. What do these girls say? No, we don't agree with these rabbis that they're saying that I'm supposed to look like I'm married. All I know is that I'm supposed to cover my hair. And if that makes me even more beautiful, so be it. And they have the chutzpah to publicly say this. A woman that's a wig maker says anyone that wants to, cover her hair and not look married, set an appointment with me today to put a wig on. Mamash, Reshaim Merushaim, Reshaim Merushaim. Yet they call themselves Orthodox. Rabotai Karim, where does this ungratefulness come from? Because the time is going to come when problems will come and everybody has problems. But those people tend to have more, like this one woman we spoke to one time and we told her, get out of the business. Get out of the business. You cannot sell these wigs. They're coming from idolatry. Needless to say, they are immodest. They're coming from idolatry and you know it and we proved it. No. Within a year and a half, 2 years, one of the kids she had cancer and died. Shem Yishmor v'Yetzil. No, you still have the business. Still didn't shut down the business. No, it's not because of that. It's because of something else. Okay, wait for the next problems. A person like that doesn't see the tragedies that are happening to their life, their terrible marriage, the terrible situations they have, doesn't see it as coming from Hashem, as a rebuke, is being an achzari, is being vicious on themselves, vicious on the people around them. But what can we do? How can we do such stupid things? It's because of ungratefulness. Where does this ungratefulness come from? Hashem gives us food, He gives us money, He gives us a spouse, He gives us children, He gives us yishtabach shimo la'ad, He gives us so much. Where does this ungratefulness come from that we feel perfectly comfortable to insult rabbis publicly, perfectly comfortable to go against the Torah, perfectly comfortable to do whatever we want, like the snake, like the serpent? How come? This, Rabotai, all stems from arrogance. Arrogance. Why arrogance? Because arrogance, Rabotai, in essence, is a person who does not want any limitations. That's what an arrogant person is. He doesn't want to have anybody telling him what to do. No, I can't work for nobody. Why can't you work for nobody? You need a job, you're unemployed. No, I need to be my own boss. Okay, be your own boss, unemployed. No, but I need a job. Okay, so you want a job, you have to work for somebody. Yeah, but why can't I just decide what to do? Because you're not the boss. Now, these types of conversations actually exist. Yes, there are people that are that dumb and that arrogant at the same time. They're that dumb and that arrogant at the same time. He'd rather stay unemployed because he doesn't want to listen to anybody telling him what to do, to put the boxes together, to put the shelves together, to call the customers, to do this, to do that. He doesn't want nobody to tell him what to do. She doesn't want nobody to tell her what to do. And Rabotai Karim, these are the people that end up destroying their own lives and everyone around their life. Why? Because they're so arrogant. They don't want anyone to tell them what to do, and that eventually goes to Hashem. Eventually they say, Hashem, I don't want you to tell me what to do. I don't want you to tell me what to do. What if Hashem says to them, yeah, but I am Hashem. I am Hashem that took you out of Egypt. Okay, so you took me out of Egypt. Who says I have to listen to you? This is the logic behind the arrogant, Rabotai. This is the arrogant behavior of people. Now, when a person understands that everything that they have and everything that they want, all the good and all the bad, is all because of Hashem. A person has to start realizing that they have to be grateful for everything and start doing things a little bit differently. Start doing things for the sake of heaven. Start doing things for simply serving a Kadosh Baruch Hu, because this is the least I can do in order to serve Hashem. The least I can do to show Hashem gratitude. Where instead of saying, oh, you gave me too much. Oh, I can't believe that I have to do this. I can't believe I have to do that. Start saying thank you. Get comfortable reading Tehillim number 100, thanking a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Get comfortable on, saying thank you on a regular basis to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Get comfortable. The more grateful a person is, the less arrogant he becomes. The less grateful, the more arrogant.